Hello and welcome to a very special edition of Critics and Cars Going Home. This is Doug, this is Sarah, and we've got someone in the back seat. Hi, Steve. He may chime in or he may just stay quiet.
Basically, Steve just ordered an Uber, and we were in the neighborhood, and...
Because doing Critics and Cars Getting Home doesn't pay the rent, you'll be surprised to learn.
So anyway, we've just been to, I guess, the New Zealand premiere, probably.
It is.
Of In the Heights.
Directed by John M. Cho from the musical by Lin-Manuel Miranda, which is adapted from a book which I hadn't realized until I was there by another author.
That's right.
And I think we're in a funny place because I think we all have the same rating, but I'm coming from a place of relatively low enthusiasm going in. By low, I mean I turned off Hamilton after an hour. I almost didn't go to this, and I spent the first 20 minutes wondering if I could fall asleep or go to the lobby and read.
Did you?
Yep.
Oh. Well,
and
I went in with higher expectations because all we had been hearing was, and I don't know the musical at all, I haven't heard a note of the songs except for whatever I've heard in the trailer. But what I did know, and I think you told me this as well, Doug, is that it's been getting rave reviews across the globe. So, with that kind of expectation, I said to Doug, either this is the kind of thing that's going to do brilliantly because the only people who are going to see it are the people who want to see it and their expectations are fulfilled and therefore they love it, or it's truly brilliant.
Or they're just really happy to see something after a year at home.
Well, that's possible too, which is less the case for us in New Zealand. So anyway, Doug...
Do you want me to unpack that a little bit more?
What?
My going from negative to saying that I wound up in probably about the same place.
Yes, I think you probably should.
Yeah, so look, I am not a fan of musical theater songs in general. I'm not a fan of the genre. There are film musicals I really love, like Singin' in the Rain, but telling story through that, I often struggle with. The actual enjoyment of the songs often isn't very high. And I made certain predictions at the beginning of this film about certain characters, yes, that turned out to be totally wrong.
Wow.
But there is one character who we meet very early on, and I looked at him, I'm like, he's gone. He's not going to make it to the end. It's going to be a big tragedy. There's quite a bit set up in the trailer as well about the politics and all of it and stuff, and I expected that to I expected it to be more of an issue film than it turns out to be, and maybe
so you went in,
more.
What I'm hearing is you went in with expectations, and you went in with a sort of a platform of how much you genuinely love musical theatre, and actually things were overturned for you.
Yeah, and there's a few reasons for that. So John M. Cho, even from an early stage, I'm like, there minor pedantic editing issues aside.
Are you an editor for a profession?
Don't tell anybody.
Oh my gosh.
I might compromise my integrity or something. I just thought if somebody likes the book of the film, if somebody wants to see this musical, he's done a great job of opening it up to the screen, of using the tools of editing and camera movement to really liven it up. I didn't necessarily like the fact that some of the performances seemed quite lip-synced. I mean, obviously they are lip-synced, but
this is definitely not Tom Hooper's Les Miserables, in which Hugh Jackman and Anne Hathaway famously sang live as the film was being recorded, and to my mind did a superb job.
But it's
this
also not
is
Singing in the Rain, where you don't think about watching Donald O'Connor doing Make Him Laugh and being like, oh, he's lip-syncing.
Sure.
It's like there's a whole body feeling when somebody's singing that's not there. But just the sheer, gregariousness and color and commitment to really making everything big and cinematic won me over.
Great. Well,
just drop me.
Yes.
Me here.
All right. Sorry, we have our first Uber stop at the moment.
I don't want to get in the way of your pace.
Do you want to offer an opinion before you go away?
I really enjoyed it, and I feel like I could definitely go and see that again.
Wow.
Okay. Well, that's an endorsement. Take care, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Whoever you are, stranger we've never met before. That's not true. So
5 stars on the app.
5 stars on the
Thanks.
So anyway, what do I actually think?
Yeah,
okay,
that's what I want to know.
I love musical theatre. I've trodden the boards a little bit myself in the good old high school and university days. Right. But can sing in tune, and maybe that's a point of difference between us. Anyway, I love musical theatre. Singing in the Rain is in my all-time top 10 movies, etc., etc. So is The Sound of Music, actually. That'll date me. Anyway, point being...
You weren't alive when it came out.
No, but all right. But anyway, point being, I've grown up on all the Hollywood musicals, and I know my Andrew Lloyd Webbers, and we've already talked about Cameron Mackintosh's wonderful Les Miserables, and I'm Your Girl. There were things about Hamilton that I found terribly, terribly clever. And you can tell, to my mind, that this, In the Heights, was written before Hamilton, because it has some of the punchy kind of the hip hop. I always want to call it iambic pentameter. It's not, but the
cadences.
Right, the cadences of hip hop. It also, though, has the traditional sort of musical songs of modern day musicals, and that's fine. And the people sing beautifully. It's very melodic. I would say none of those melodies are sitting with me right now, and it'll remain to be seen whether I'm kind of humming them a little bit later on. They don't, for me, have the oomph of the wonderful King George number in Hamilton with the da 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 da.
That's just because you have a crush on Jonathan Groff, right?
Well, there's that as well. So it doesn't quite have that for me. Narrative-wise, oh my gosh, it ticked every cliche in the box. And I don't mind that, because I think it's a vehicle for musical theatre. But I'm quite surprised that you were thrown any curveballs, my darling.
Well, I think I was...
And we're not going to spoiler it, don't worry.
Yeah, no, I think I was just expecting something that was a bit more politically didactic,
Yes.
and a bit less... It's just fundamentally about belonging.
And
it's a film
place.
about belonging in place,
Yes.
and gentrification, and
it makes loads of commentary on those issues that is not only incredibly true of New York, but could reasonably be said to be true of a lot of places. And so, yes, it's a very now film in that regard, and yet also a very perennial film.
And yeah, look, I'm not trying to oversell its subtlety. I mean, this is a film that when the blackout happens, which that is not a spoiler, because I think one of the very first on-screen titles is 3 Days Until Blackout.
Yes.
This song says we are powerless, and that's
without
the
power.
level that this film is working at in those elements. And I don't know. I just had a low expectations that were surpassed, and sometimes I think, that's the best time I have at the theater,
I think for you that is the best time you have at the theatre. For me, there were definitely numbers. Look, I know I'm not supposed to talk about this film in the context of West Side Story, but it draws inevitable comparisons to West Side Story. Well, because it's a very contemporary updating on the immigrant story. But I would say that there are a couple of numbers that evoke the whole wonderful "I Want to Be in America" song. And for me, it's the big crowd numbers that are terrific. I'm less enamored of the very nicely sung, but nonetheless duets and whatnot. The romantic subplots didn't particularly interest me, but the big crowd numbers I thought were really compelling.
Ironically, this is probably one of those places where my general less interest in story has paid off in a mainstream context. I often get frustrated with films that are really basic narratively that don't have a lot more going on. And because here the narrative is just clothes hanger for the set pieces.
Yes, and the music.
I was fine with the fact that the narrative wasn't really, breaking much ground.
Yeah, sure. So we're nearly home. I think it's time to wrap that up.
Absolutely happy to. So where do you come in at on, would you go see it again?
Oh, I don't need to see it again. But look, I will say, readers, listeners, watchers, one of the disadvantages of this conceit that we do this the minute that we get out of the film does mean that there really is no time given for the film to sit with us and sit with me in this instance. And I may feel a little bit differently tomorrow. Who knows?
You may be writing about this film as well, in which case you may have a review that contradicts or...
Well, not contradicts, but certainly expounds on some of my thoughts right now. So a lot of that's still percolating. I don't instinctively come out of it going, yes, I can't wait to see that again.
Right.
But it absolutely does what it says on the tin. fans, I think, will be rightly thrilled and rewarded. I just don't see how they wouldn't be. So if you are familiar with the music, you're going to have a blimmin' amazing time.
My gut is that anyone who is keen to see this will love what it does and be very pleased. I will also point out that I thought the exact same thing when I saw The Last Jedi, and so we saw how that came out. But I'd still give it 4 stars.
I would go 4 stars for this as well, but not higher than that. Thanks so much for watching.
And see you next time, possibly without paying customers.